Let me tell you a story. It's a classic tale of ambition, of betrayal, and of consequences that nobody saw coming. We're diving into ancient Judea, a proud kingdom that's standing right on a knife's edge. But the biggest threat isn't some foreign army gathering at the gates. No, the real poison is coming from inside the royal family itself. And that brings us to the absolute core of our story today. How does a bitter personal rivalry between two brothers, a fight for a single crown, spiral so far out of control that it ends up inviting the world's next great superpower right to their front door? It's a question worth asking. All right, so let's set the scene. Our story really kicks off with the death of Queen Alexandra. She leaves behind a kingdom and two sons, but this succession is going to be anything but smooth. So, on one side, you've got Hyrcanus. He's the elder son, and by law and by his own mother's decree, the throne should be his. But the historian Josephus tells us he's got a pretty, inactive temper. Then you have his younger brother Aristobulus. He's more charismatic, way more ambitious, and this is the important part, a lot more powerful. So when they finally face off in battle near Jericho, it's not even a contest. Hyrcanus' army basically just melts away and joins his brother. He's forced to run and hide in a fortress. The whole thing was over before it even really started. Aristobulus is the clear winner. But wait, before things get truly bloody, the brothers actually make a deal, which is pretty surprising. Aristobulus gets to be king, and Hyrcanus agrees to just retire and live a quiet, private life. And to make it all official, they meet in the temple, the holiest place in Jerusalem. They hug it out in front of everybody. They even swap houses. Aristobulus moves into the royal palace, and Hyrcanus moves into his brother's old place. So on the surface, everything looks fine. It looks like peace. But this truce, it is built on some seriously shaky ground. This peace agreement might have actually worked. It could have held. Except for one guy, an outsider, with his own plans, who looked at the retired Hyrcanus and didn't see a man enjoying his peace and quiet. He saw the perfect puppet. His name was Antipater, and that name is one you're going to want to remember, because his influence is about to change the course of Judean history forever. So, who is this guy? Antipater was an Idumean. That means he wasn't from the Judean heartland. He had money, he had connections, he had power, but he was still an outsider. And the new king, Aristobulus, he already couldn't stand him. So Antipater knew that with Aristobulus on the throne, his own influence would be zero. But with the gentle, retired Hyrcanus, now that was an opportunity. So Antipater gets to work on Hyrcanus. He starts whispering in his ear, planting these little seeds of fear and resentment. He attacks Aristobulus' character, calls him immoral, and tells Hyrcanus how he's the rightful, just ruler. But here's the real killer move. He convinces Hyrcanus that his life is in danger. He says Aristobulus is never going to be content until you're dead. He tells him the only way to be safe is to run, find some allies, and take back the throne that is rightfully yours. And just like that, Hyrcanus, totally persuaded and probably terrified, agrees. And with that one decision, what started as one man scheming is now about to become an international plot. So, under the cover of darkness, the two of them slip out of Jerusalem. They ride like crazy for Petra, the capital of the powerful Arabian kingdom to the south. And there, Antipater puts on a masterclass in diplomacy. Josephus tells us he uses persuasive arguments and, quote, many presents, let's be real, he means bribes, to convince the Arabian king Aretas to back Hyrcanus. He sells it as this noble quest to restore a wronged king. And the deal is struck. Now, we are not talking about a small backup crew here. King Aretas provides an army of 50,000 soldiers, a massive invasion force. Think about that for a second. A personal family squabble, fanned into flames by one ambitious courtier, has just brought a foreign army to the borders of Judea. So the invasion, it works. It works really, really well. Aristobulus is defeated, and the whole conflict comes to a head at the walls of Jerusalem. But right when you think you know how this story ends, a whole new player walks onto the field. And this player changes the entire game. The Arabian army is just too much for Aristobulus. He gets beaten badly out in the open and is forced to retreat behind the walls of his own capital city. So now his brother Hyrcanus, along with Antipater and this huge Arabian force, is laying siege to Jerusalem. For Aristobulus, the guy who was so triumphant just a short time ago, everything is on the line. It looks like it's all over for him. And then everything just stops. Out of nowhere, a Roman army appears on the horizon, led by a general named Scaurus. And he's not just some random commander, he's there under the authority of Rome's most powerful man, Pompey the Great. Rome had been expanding all over the region, and now, well, it has officially arrived in Judea.
Okay, so why are the Romans here? Are they here to play referee, to make sure justice is served and the rightful king is on the throne? Not exactly.
This pretty much tells you everything you need to know about Rome's game plan. Both brothers send people to the Roman general to plead their case. But Aristobulus, he's trapped and desperate, and he sends something a little more persuasive: 300 talents of silver. And for the Roman general Scaurus, the choice is easy. A massive bribe, it turns out, carries a lot more weight than any arguments about justice or birthright. So, with his pockets full of silver, Scaurus sends a simple message to Hyrcanus and his allies: leave or face the resentment of the Romans. And let me tell you, that phrase, the resentment of the Romans, that is a threat you just don't ignore. The siege is lifted, but this story is far from over. The brothers thought they were fighting each other for a kingdom, but in reality, their war just put a giant spotlight on Judea, showing Rome it was a prize ready for the taking. In trying to win a crown for themselves, they had just lost their kingdom's independence forever.